Okay, we're good to go.
Yeah, call the meeting to order. Let us pause now and review the agenda for adoption. May I have someone move for adoption of the agenda?
Move for adoption.
Second?
Second.
Oh, good. Thank you. And let us look again at the minutes of the August 13th meeting. May we have a motion for adoption?
Motion for adoption.
Second.
Okay. There isn't anyone to introduce here, and so let us move on to the first action item. Collection Development Policy.
I was actually going to have Patrick speak to this, so I will do my best to introduce it to you all. But essentially, as you may, as we had noted at a previous board meeting, and as you may have followed in the news, there was recent legislation this year regarding a new statutes about book bannings and the language that surrounds that. Welcome. We just started, so. So what you'll note in red are the additions that per the state statutes and per the county attorney's office, we need to add into our collection development policy. We're just on the first action item,
Okay,
collection development policy, and I was gonna have Patrick speak to this because he had kind of led the charge, so I'm doing my best to give an update on it.
okay.
But there are some changes noted in red that are specifically language really directly from the statutes that have been added surrounding the book banning legislation that passed. And so, as we communicated with our other MELSA neighboring libraries, they're all on a very similar pathway with what needed to be added to their collection development policy. At this point, it's not changing any of our process that we have in place. Although we just became aware, and if you read the second paragraph on the last page, it says that the governing body must submit a report of the challenge to Commissioner of Education, and we just became aware of an actual form that if, in the event that we had a challenge rise to the board level, we would submit that report to State Library Services. That's part of kind of a new piece in the process.
Is that just the board level, or is it when the director gives the response to the applicant?
I just had that same question in my head. I'm not sure. So we're still really learning some of those pieces too from State Library Services, what direction we need to go with. And maybe Patrick can answer that too, but welcome, Patrick.
Hi, sorry, the person who's supposed to relate me.
Their traffic between Chanhassen and Chaska is very challenging.
Oh, it was,
Pretty much every road. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I came from Excelsior, but still.
yes.
So the way
We were
it's,
just talking about the collection development
okay.
policy, and I was introducing it, essentially saying that what we've added is essentially from the state statutes. We had the county attorney review. I don't know if you have additional pieces that you wanted to add, or we're going to explain from what you've learned from your MELSA colleagues.
There's now a process under F, request for reconsideration about reporting it to the Commissioner of Education, that when the law was passed, they hadn't figured out yet, but they figured out yet. That doesn't really impact you. We've added as an addenda the actual law itself to give it a little bit more weight. And I don't think that totally means this is over. I can see wanting to reclassify stuff, which isn't covered by the policy. So a person could say, well, you can have Heartstoppers, it just shouldn't be a teen book. Or you should have, I can't remember, I think it's called Rick. It's a book about a trans teen. You can, I'm not saying you can take it off the shelf, but I'm saying it should be an adult book, which isn't covered by the policy, reclassifying things. One insidious thing that could happen, I believe it happened at 112, where they actually called the police on a library saying they were doing indecent material, handing out pornography to minors, which would not be covered under this policy. So I don't know if, I think probably you guys are gonna not have to go through what you went through a year ago again. And I think a lot of what you went through a year ago is why this law was passed. So I think your sacrifice of stress led to this law. So no, I don't have anything else to add other than I hope that you adopt it and
Okay, any questions? So since it's an action item, we would need a motion to approve this with the changes.
Motion to approve?
Thank you.
Second?
Can I have a second?
I did, yep.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, motion carried. Waconia Blinds, I'm assuming that's you?
Yes,
Would you like to just share a brief summary of?
it's in here, right?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
What? Yeah, this has been something that we've been chipping away at for quite a while. The fact that there are so many broken slats on several different ones that are just so visible and ugly, but also the functional level that the strings on these very wide blinds, so you can never get them level, right? And just raising and lowering is an adventure. And then third, and probably most important, is that the strings, if you do some reading on the issue of window blinds and safety, is the issue of the safety of cords and children getting caught on them, and depending upon what their shape and how they're clipped together, whether a child could hang on them, and so there actually are, enough recorded incidents of this that that there's some, strong recommendations about what to replace them with. So for us, as we talk through whether to have the cordless, completely cordless, and just push up and down, or to have ones that are on a loop, and we've chosen to go with the loop and have it at a height that is above child reach height, but yet adult height, to raise and lower. We have these in the activity room at Waconia. That doesn't get raised and lowered very much, so that wouldn't really be, much of a way to put it through its paces, other than to say we've already got it in the building, and Yetzer's provided them, and they did a very good job with the install and all that. But we've gone with the style, and pretty much there's a percentage of through visibility, right, as to how either much they block or allow through light, and being able to see what's from the outside in and the inside out. And so we've gone similar to what we've got out at Norwood Young America and have been quite happy with. So that's where we, and so then part of this struggle, it took a while to get in sync, getting the city to commit to providing funding. At the end of last year, like mid-December, they were like, yeah, go for it. Like, okay, well, and we had this tight little window of time for which to do the order and install and billing, and it just wasn't going to come together like that. And so then I got put on the back burner, and so I did talk with the Friends of the Library, and they approved funding for it. And we've already received funding from the Hoffman Family Foundation at the Waconia branch, for which it was unrestricted, just to be used for the benefit of the library. And so I did a little bit of conversation with the city and said, if we can get 2/3 paid by these other entities. Will you all go for this at this time of the year, even though it's an unbudgeted expense? Back and forth, and finally we said, yep. So we had the just come back, do some last measurements, last proposal, all that kind of stuff. It was a lot of conversation is what I'm obviously explaining. And, but it's gonna come together. So we'll look forward to the install coming up in the next couple weeks, next month or so, and getting this project behind us.
So what do we need to approve?
Not a bit.
Oh, okay.
But when talking with the county, it was suggested to me that I bring it to the library board for your awareness, simply because it is interesting as an unusual funding approach, and also that it's a sizable expense, you know, from the Friends of the Library, to the extent that, I don't know, you ever really approved their expenses, but on a donation that was made to the Waconia Library that was deposited in the Waconia branch savings with the Library Foundation, right? Yeah. So,
The minutes will just say that we are aware.
yep,
Proceed.
please. Thank you.
Okay.
And hopefully we have your blessing in
Yeah,
moving forward at
yes.
this point.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Yeah.
Especially a place where books are and materials are, things like that, like the keeping light from coming in and
Right.
ruining that, it seems very like.
And that's just full western sun, I
Yeah.
remember too, just beaming in that,
Oh, it's brutal.
yeah.
There's about an hour of the day where, it depends on which service desk you're sitting at, is, you know, I can't remember what that 1980s song was, but Blinded by the Light, you know, I think it's just, because people are coming towards you, you want to look up and smile at them, and you know, and so we're always going
That was my commute
around.
from downtown for many years.
Yeah, raising and lowering
Yeah.
blinds, yeah.
I was in your library in the evening, just before they were closing. No one was in the children's area. And your library was just gorgeous. It was stunning, except for one thing.
The blinds, yeah.
It'll be
Yeah, they really just look
beautiful.
terrible. So, and I am mindful of, it's sort of a subliminal kind of a thing, but as people approach a building, a facility like that, to have windows that allow people to see in, rather than having, you know, if you're approaching from the outside and coming up and you're looking at these kind of blinds, you know, and it's like shuttered up tight. Nobody's home, or if you were home, we don't really want you looking in at, you know, that kind of thing. So there is a subliminal marketing type of thing to be conscious of, and having our windows and people seeing in when they're approaching the building. It just makes it that much more welcoming, which we work hard at.
Okay. This will be a very nice upgrade, much needed.
Yeah.
So when's our next meeting in Waconia? That'll be done by then.
Right. I don't know if it is this fall, or if we're done at Waconia for the fall.
Can't remember, I know we're at Cologne next month,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's October.
You could stop in if you insist.
You're always welcome.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Continuing on the furniture theme, or furnishings theme. Is this you, Kevin?
Yes, so the Chaska Library, we're looking at kind of a better flow, and not only from the patron side, but from the employee side as well. Right now, the desk is kind of split in two. There's the information desk when you first enter, and then there's the service desk, which is kind of jammed in by the bathroom. And we would like to move it back over to where it had originally been, kind of by our workroom, and move the computers that have kind of inhabited that area away, and kind of lessen the number that we have. And so thinking about not only that, but also flexible spaces, putting things on wheels and easily moved around, and the hope that we're going to have a new library and having things that can be reused in that space. Started reaching out to some companies to provide some ideas for this. And we have one that is basically tables, long tables, that are nice looking, they raise and lower so that you can have them at the height that you need. So there would be 3 of those to replace what we already have. And that's about $10,000. We have another bid in that came about triple that. And I have the feeling that the one that came in today is gonna be even more than that. So we're trying to save money as well, but also have a functional space where not only it looks nice, but staff is together and they can support each other a little bit better.
And then everyone knows where to go when they walk in.
Yes, indeed. Yep, so we'll be moving the existing furniture around, reusing as much as we have, and part of it is moving holds over by the door so that when you come in, they're visible right there, so you don't have to ask anyone where they are.
I saw the number, I was like, you got a deal. I mean, you start looking at even like this desk and then you're like, oh, those are not cheap.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, especially for something as nice as an entry like that. You want it to look nice, you want it to look fresh, you want it to make sense and be inviting.
Right.
It sounds like that's exactly what you're trying to do. And
That's what we're trying to
For that
do.
price, that's a bargain.
And like I said, the whole idea is that they're gonna be reusable. So we're not thinking about a single use just for this one space. They're tables basically, and they're many, many options for future use in a new space, hopefully.
And you do have another Easy Reader newer unit shelf that was made by this company.
Yes.
So we've at least had, or you've had that experience with them already. Hopefully, I think a good one.
Yeah, a really good working relationship with them. And price-wise, it's excellent from as what you mentioned.
Yeah.
So I think this, we may be looking for an action item to continue moving forward.
Okay, and then I know we're not really responsible for the budget, but is
Right.
there money for it that we have to worry about? Okay,
We do have budget set aside for
Okay.
this. And
Okay.
the nice thing about this, if we end up with this particular price point, there's a couple other things across the system that have been requested that we would still have funding to be able to do a couple of other upgrades across the system. I know Watertown is looking at a couple of seating units for
Correct.
their children's area. So, and we've done some reupholstering at Chanhassen, so I feel like we're utilizing the budget that we've had and being able to hit different points across the whole system, so.
okay. So any other questions for Kevin or Jody on this? Otherwise, I would look for a motion for approving, moving
Making a
ahead.
motion for approval of the purchase of a new reference service desk
That's a word.
for Chaska.
Thanks, Jan.
Second.
Second, okay. Any other questions? Otherwise, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, action item carried.
Great.
Now, I'm not totally sure what this 6-1 is. Is that you?
So I think we had talked about it a little bit. It can be both of us and all of
Okay.
us.
Well, I know what 6-2 is, but.
Yep, absolutely. I think there had just been, just to bring a question to you all, and you need to think about it after tonight too, but knowing what you've seen now so far in the packets that we provide and our staff take time to put together, are you seeing what you want to see? Are there other needs? Are there other discussion points or presentations that, or more other types of information that you'd be interested in hearing from us? So it's a very open-ended question, but if there's something different you'd all like to see, we would entertain that, absolutely. And
Well, I like what you put in last time, 2 reports. They have to do with 24/7 libraries, and then information on the new, not the banning of banning, that handout. I like that. I like background material.
And I don't have it with me, but you have had sort of a month-by-month plan for what you're gonna highlight and,
With our different teams.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yep,
It might be good to have sort of a dashboard of engagement at some level, like very simple, but just maybe some KPIs from your side that we could say, hey, how many people visited the library this month, or what are we seeing with the Libby app? I use that more than I do visit the library specifically, which is much more convenient. But maybe just like engagement, so we can see, hopefully there's like a difference, an increase, and people are doing it in different ways. I think that helps us give us context, like different articles and updates. I think it also helps us to see how people are engaging with the library maybe in different ways. So.
and more in the format of a like a visual.
Like a graph
Graph,
versus
yeah.
just the numbers,
It
yeah.
could be just numbers, but like compared to this quarter last year or last year overall, or how are we tracking? Are we behind? Are we ahead? I think that's the whole gist of a library, is to engage with people. So it would be good to see for us kind of where we're at, how we're doing.
I was going to mention when I give the report later in the meeting for the, what do you call it, endowment, not the endowment, the,
Foundation.
yeah. I was going to tell you that the board liked the photos. In fact, they want to add, or thinking about adding the photos that I passed around at the meeting to their ask letters. And so I'm saying keep in the photos. There were some beauties again, last time and this time, that show exactly what the activity looked like during the summer. And so I'd keep that. But
Great.
just
Great feedback.
also for us,
Mhm.
but to think that they were excited about that and saw, could make their letter more interesting.
It's likely at some point in the next few months, well, it may take a little longer than that, but there will be a new executive director named for MELSA who may be interested and willing to come to a board meeting and introduce themselves and share a little bit more about MELSA. I've also had an offer from the director of Minitex, Maggie Snow, would be willing to come out sometime as well. So I don't know if that interests you to hear from some of the greater statewide initiatives that and partners that we work with as well.
It's great. It's like going to like a mini conference with us instead of going to the conference in the fall. Because I remember meeting her. In fact, she said she had worked here in our district.
She happened to have worked here, yes, yes. So there's a tie in there, absolutely.
so related to this,
Mhm.
should I go to that spot?
Sure.
So I feel a little funny bringing this up since my term is over at the end of the year. But one of the things when we were talking about canceling July or whatever, and I said to Jody, you know, have we always met every month, you know, since the advisory board started? And, you know, because some meetings it seems like they're very light, we don't have a quorum. Other meetings, you know, are more robust. So she had Susan do some research, and of the different libraries in MELSA, Anoka also meets monthly. Dakota and Hennepin meet every other month. Ramsey meets monthly but canceled June and July. St. Paul meets monthly. Scott meets a minimum of 4 times a year. They have 9 scheduled for 2024, but some are work sessions, which could get at, you know, speakers or something like that. And Washington County meets every other month. And then Susan also looked at other Carver County Advisory Board meeting frequency. I'm sorry, I was going to come early and make a copy of this, but the Arts Committee meets as needed. Board of Adjustment monthly, but meetings are canceled. CDA, I don't know what that is, monthly with occasional cancellations, mental health, monthly with cancellations, park commission, kind of as needed. So anyway, I just started thinking with, here's part of my point, and people are leaving early.
I'm good to meet whenever, the rare reschedule.
Well, we're not gonna make a decision today. But anyway, so
See ya, thanks.
I think and I just think of all the work that goes in to put together these packets with Susan every month and copies, and so I just thought, it's worth talking about. It'd be a better use of staff time and people's time, cost savings with copies, mailings, stipends, mileage. Make the meetings we do have be, content rich, the expectation you're on time, you can stay for the whole meeting. If it wasn't every other month, that might be more doable. And then if we needed to do some emails between meetings for updates or things going on, that could be a simple, in between, here's what's happening. I think the potential downsides is, do we lose continuity between meetings? Is 2 months too long? We might not be able to get at every location in the county for meetings. I think we're within our bylaws to take a look at this. So it's just something to think about. Do we continue monthly? Do we continue monthly but just be more overt about we're probably going to cancel a couple in the summer and cancel December, and try to work a little bit better? Or do we think about moving to every other month? January, March, May, July, September, and November. See, here we go. We're coming and going. So anyway, so Jody and I just kind of had that conversation, and I said, you're the new library director. I'm not one to just kind of keep doing something because we've been doing it that way, if it makes more sense to take a look at it. So since I'm rolling off the board, it doesn't really affect me, but I guess I wanted to just bring up that conversation and see what people's thoughts are, especially new members, I did think about that too. When you're new, does it help to come every month to kind of get the flow? Or
For me personally, it has, but I also completely understand that and also subscribe to just because we always did it that way doesn't mean we have to keep doing it that way.
right.
I'm kind of curious to what you all think, the people that create this stuff for us. Do you find it to be beneficial that you see us every month and that you have content every month? I don't feel like you've ever been like, wow, I don't have anything to say this month. It seems like there's a lot going on kind of always.
There's a lot going on always.
Yeah.
Definitely. It does take some wrangling of people in order to gather the information, so there is time and resources, like Gwen said. Definitely. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually use the report as a planning tool for me and an accountability thing. We have a couple of tools that we use. Patrick especially works with our strategic planning task documents and things like that. So for me, this is a companion to those type of processes where I'm looking at something every month, right? Jake is generating, and Dee was holding up the extra sheet that I handed out that didn't make it in the packet.
Yeah.
It was a casualty of the Monday holiday, and Jake was out of the office on Tuesday, and so it didn't get into the packet by Wednesday night. Any hoozle, the point is that, these type of statistic sheets, whether it's this format or however you want me to arrange it, are useful to me as a manager and to keep a finger on the pulse of these things. So, I tend to be more of a people meeting person, right? You know that about me. That's not a new surprise. So I don't at all wish that I didn't have to come to these on Tuesday evenings. Community engagement, I think, is important. And that's our ultimate goal, right? Is that you're the community, you're representative of that, you're holding us as managers accountable on some of these things, even if it's not directly in his administrative board. But so
Patrick, did you want to add anything?
I'm fine, whatever you guys want to do, I will support.
What do you say?
I said, I'm fine, whatever you want to do, I will support.
How about you, Jan? You're kind of the in-between person, and Charles, you missed kind of the, I just was bringing up, is it,
Can we dip
do we
in?
need to meet every month?
Can we dip into it? Maybe, I heard one where it was June and July. And we have our, your rotation of updates. And can we combine a couple of them? Is that we would have to do that, I guess, during meetings. And makes it a nice and full meeting. And it keeps us on track too. Every other, we're such a, we become a team. We have our culture here, changes with new people, makes it even more beautiful each time. But having half, that's quite every other, that's quite a deep cut or change.
I tend to agree with you. That's cutting our content, not our content. It doesn't cut our content in half, but it cuts our time together in half. And I wonder if instead of having the hour and a half, we would be bleeding into 2 hours and potentially even 2.5 for those bigger meetings when there's more stuff to cover.
Mm-hmm.
And like you mentioned, like we don't have to make a decision today, and Dee
Right.
didn't get to talk to us today, and Charles just kind of, I think it's worth thinking about for sure.
I guess my question is there was this body set up by the city or the county? Or how was this set up? I can't remember.
Well, originally it was a governing board.
Right.
And then in like 2009, it switched to an advisory board under the governance of the county.
Right.
But the bylaws still give this group, it's your responsibility to select and approve your dates and your meeting times and
Is
the
there-
frequency.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out, is there a regular, a bylaw or a standing ruling on how frequent are we supposed to meet?
The way that we interpreted it is that it's up to the group entirely, like how you want to approach that.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can see certain times of the year when it's busier, that we can say, well, like around Christmas, January, maybe we can skip one, or maybe in the summer we could skip one, because a lot of times people are traveling and doing other things.
Well, that might be a good in-between step.
Right.
Yeah, to
Yeah.
just be,
Right, it's not like we don't make a hard and fast rule of every other month kind of a thing where, like everyone's saying that some months could have a lot busier things going on, and therefore the meeting gets to get stretched out longer. Whereas there are other months where we feel that's lighter and we don't need to meet every month in that season. We can meet maybe 2 out of that season, or maybe we can slide it by 4-month slots, and maybe one of the 4 months we do 2 of the 4. Something like that could be a kind of a summer month. We can take a break. Oh,
Sometimes it's
yeah.
nice to be off in February.
That's my thought.
So you could set it up, there's a lot of different ways you could approach
Right.
it. You could say, we're not gonna meet in July and December, and try that next year. And then your group would still have the flexibility, like if I come to the chair and say, we just really have a light agenda, there is an option that you all can opt to cancel it. But-
I guess the question is this: if you have a really light agenda, but there may be 1 or 2 decisions that is to be made, couldn't those be made by email? Is that sufficient?
well, I
or
think
not
that you would need
sufficient?
to have a video meeting maybe.
Yeah, I think
It
you'd
says-
have to schedule a special meeting in that instance.
And then
Because it's tied
you
to
schedule the meeting, the public needs to be aware, and if there's any public
Right.
input, albeit we only had one in 12 months, which is an interesting one, but yeah.
I think we're all.
Yeah,
in
and
the
I
mood.
was surprised of the other MELSA groups. It was
I am
kind of
too.
50-50, yeah, between monthly, but definitely the ones that were monthly seem to be more flexible about cancellations, so I think maybe that's a good.
I would
a good-
say, yeah, couple, we can select 2 months in the year at least for sure, and then if, as the year progress and there are certain months that we think is gonna be slow, we just need to anticipate that and make the announcement earlier, sooner rather than later, because you need to notify and make it available to make the public aware of the change.
Right, right.
I think we're in the mood for change. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's not gonna affect me that much for next year. That's why I felt funny about it, but it was just like, yeah, why do we meet every
Are you,
month? But
is yours ending this year?
I'm done at the end of the year, yeah.
When do I get done?
I'll have to check that, Charles. Yeah.
I know, it's 9 years goes fast.
Is it 9 years or 6 years?
Three terms, yeah.
Yeah.
Three terms. Oh, so now I got lots to go. Yeah, I'm only at like 4 maybe, 3, maybe 4.
4 or 5, yeah. Okay, well, yeah, have the discussion, so should we say that when we, so the meeting schedule for the year is approved in January or November?
We've usually done it earlier in November.
Okay,
Mhm.
so maybe in November, we'll just, would you guys
Formalize
be
it?
comfortable with that, with
Yeah.
July and December?
Totally.
And just-
And we can go into December, we can say we could take December off.
My last act.
No, then we take January off.
Because we've already probably, I mean, we haven't met in December in the 9 years I've been
Right.
on the board,
Well,
so
most of the
that's
time
kind
not,
of
yeah.
default anyway, but yeah, to kind of
Or
have a
actually,
break in the
considering
summer.
if
would
it's
be
a
nice.
light meeting, maybe we can do it online.
I like the idea of it being consistent. Like we decide as a board, we're not meeting in December or July. I prefer that over being like, oh, hey, sorry, we heard there's no meeting. I'd be like, oh, okay. Which is fine. It
No,
just, it also
absolutely.
feels like
Yep.
more reminders for your team as well to be like, oh, I guess we're not having a meeting. We did all this work and we don't have enough stuff.
Well, it's helpful for our preparation
Right.
purposes, and I feel like we have a pretty good, solid process in place for everything
Right.
that we gather, for Susan as she prints the packets up and whatnot, so.
I know, I'm just picturing Susan at that copy machine for
Oh,
like
yes.
6 hours.
She just says, on that Thursday morning, nobody nobody interrupt me.
I guess the only other thing would be if you all can look at your schedules and say, what are the heavier months for the library team, if there is one, and maybe pick one from there too. I mean, if like going into school year and you're like, actually usually I'm assuming going to summer, it's like really, really busy going into summer, right? So maybe June may not be the good month, maybe May is a better month to give you all a break to work towards into summer. Just a thought, that's all.
Well, we can talk about that. I mean, July also at the same time is the middle of summer reading program to
Right,
me,
so
which
that's
is
a
like
busy thing too.
such a busy month in our libraries.
Okay.
But we can talk about it as a leadership team too, so, yep.
And you have the fair.
Yep, and then we have the fair in August, so if we opted to not meet in August as a group, then I would invite you all to come to the fair with us at the outreach booth.
Yes.
To be the cow.
Okay, well, thank you for that discussion, and yeah, if you have other ideas for topics, pass those on to Jody for
Yes, absolutely. I
planning
would welcome
purposes.
those. Mhm.
Okay,
Are we going
team
to suggest
update.
topics?
Let's see,
So
or
we're going
we
to-
start with the budget, I don't know what 7.1 is,
Are
is
you
that?
asking us to suggest topics?
Oh, she said if you would like to suggest, you can reach out to me.
Reach out to you.
Sure, yeah, that would be
Okay.
fine.
What's that?
She can,
Oh,
you
I
can
gotta
reach out
sug-
to me if you have topic suggestions.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful, thank you.
Oh, did you all pass the policy adjustment already?
Yep,
Oh.
you missed it.
I had a question, but it's okay.
Fortunately, Dee was here, well, we would have had a quorum anyway, so. Okay, Jody, is there something for 7.1?
No, we don't have any team updates
Okay,
tonight.
so then
Um,
just budget and your report.
Correct. So
Okay.
typically, we would have a law library update tonight at this
Oh,
particular
yeah, yeah,
meeting.
yeah.
But that position is still vacant right now.
Okay.
So, so no updates at this time from the law library.
That's right, last year with that big herd, we had to do that.
Very
Law
quickly.
library update.
Yes.
Forgot about that.
Okay, so I don't really have any major updates for the budget tonight. We're sitting about where we should be for this time of the year. And aside from, and I had indicated that last month, that obviously the overdue fines coming in is a lot lower than what, you know, is essentially budgeted for us. Our photocopy fees actually are sitting pretty much where they should be, so we're in good shape with that. And as always, we just continue to watch the fines and fees to see where we'll need to make up that shortfall as we move through the year. Any questions about the budget?
How is this changing going into your next year's budget? I guess it's a bit early, but
For the fines?
yeah.
Is that, so, and that blends into my director update. So the county passed their preliminary levy budget.
Right,
The final budget is not approved until December, so there's several work sessions and then there's a public hearing in November. Currently, they've moved forward with what was recommended by the county administrator, and that does still include our request to eliminate fines at this point. But, so the levy budget can't be set any higher at this point, but they could opt to lower it and could take items off the table, you know, in between now and then. But for now, it's still in the budget package.
Okay.
and how is the reduction in revenue anticipated this year affecting operations, I guess?
Say that again, Charles?
Like, you anticipated so much from the fees and things like that, and they're coming in significantly lower.
Right.
How is that affecting your day-to-day operations?
It's not directly affecting anything right now, other than, because we have enough budget. We're not at a shortfall at the moment, and we're still waiting on some MELSA funding that's coming in that will potentially help offset some of that. Yeah.
I always remembered Heidi said, I had some money squirreled away and I'm trying to figure out where is she squirreling. That's all.
And certainly as we move through the rest of the year and we look at if there's line items that have some additional funding, you know, the county may look to pull from those line items to help cover and offset that as well.
So when will you know for sure? Not till December?
Not till December.
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah,
we'll
because I'm
have
thinking that if you anticipate the change, that would, so you gave a proposed budget on your side, so they've
Correct.
taken that into consideration, that's all.
Correct.
Okay.
But it, essentially, and so that also ties into, there's what's called a county fee schedule.
Right,
So if you go onto the county's website, you can see all the different departments and the different fines and fees and associated costs for residents. So that whole fee schedule would need to be adjusted then as well. So I anticipate if we see this continue to move forward, that likely by next month, I would bring that whole package to all of you to potentially approve for that to be updated as well.
So when would you, do you have a whole rollout plan already kind of?
Not yet.
Okay. But how long would, once you know for sure, how long would it take to implement it? Would it be as of January 1st?
Yeah, we would
Okay.
need to have it be ready to roll as of January 1st. Mhm.
Exciting.
And we won't meet December.
I was gonna say, maybe we have to meet in December now. And you don't have any newspapers to kind of communicate it either.
Right.
so.
That's true.
Just one, yeah.
Exactly.
Sorry. Well, it's now the Minnesota Star Tribune, so maybe you could get an article in there. Okay. So we'll probably talk about that some more in October, November, for sure. Okay. All right. Mike's not here. Patrick, you want to give us your...
Yeah, three things. If you look at my report, page 1 is the end of summer event at Victoria, which was a dance party, which always means lots of bubbles. Page 2 was the final finale at Chanhassen, and back there, we didn't get a really good picture of this, but back in the right corner, you'll see giant chess pieces. So kids were playing giant games of chess. There was also some golfing going on. And then the third page is the page I'm always most proud of, which is our team volunteers. This isn't all of them, also doesn't include Hannah from Victoria. We had, counting Hannah, 20 team volunteers, 19 at Chan and 1 at Victoria this summer. And this is just a picture of a few of them because I wanted to keep it to 1 page. They just did great stuff. And then we had a debrief with the staff most closely involved with the program. And then we just had our Chanhassen Victoria staff meetings where we also talked about what people want to do different. Everyone agreed this was the best group we've ever had. That they were really pleased with how things went, but they also had some really good suggestions for next year's program. That's all I got.
Patrick, I have a question. How is this program like communicated into the community? Is it something they sign up at school or at the library?
It's one of those things that needs no promotion.
Oh, cool.
That every year we actually get about more kids than we can use.
Wow, nice.
We had, this year we had 12 returning kids. So once people do it, they want to keep doing it. But yes, there was some signage in the library, but we've not found the need to promote it much wider than that.
Excellent, thank you.
Hey, Kevin?
So to highlight, thanks to Patrick and his staff for helping to support the Connect and Assess events that were at the Eastern Carver County Schools. It's their version of open house. We had a table at each of the schools during these events and mostly staffed. There were a couple open spots so that we could talk about library services and things that were particular to the elementary students, and specifically like booklets and some other things like that. And so there are some really good connections and got our faces out there to the public. We're reaping the harvest from our community garden. We have a table set up in our entryway, and public has been in, we'll get questions all the time. Can I take this, please? Can I? So helping feed our community with the food up in front. Some great collaborations with the Cub Scouts this year. The last one was building race cars out of Legos, and then they brought in their racetrack and they could race them. And we had over 90 people coming through the door that day. So it's been growing every single time that the Cub Scouts have been in there. And we have 2 goodbyes. One is Doug Schanzenbach, who was an avid library user in Chaska, and his celebration of life was held last month at the Arboretum. And Jennifer Hemken, who was our youth services librarian, moved on this past week. So we will be hiring a new librarian soon.
Okay, thank you. Paul?
I think I'll piggyback on Kevin's comment, is wearing the manager for the youth services team hat. And that is at our youth services monthly team meeting this past week. is at the end of the meeting, we had just sort of an affirmation of Jennifer's tenure here at the library and staff, the youth services librarians that were gathered in the room and those online as well, just reflected on all her contributions, which really were significant over the, is it more than 10 years?
20.
20, right? Yeah. And so we wish her well. Wish her well. Some on a lighter note is we received, but also meaningful, right? So the summer reading program has 3 funding sources. The MELSA, we receive funding from, the
Foundation.
legacy funding, the Library Foundation, the Friends groups, right? So there's a variety of income streams. And at Waconia, and I imagine that Kevin and Patrick, you've received these at your branch as well, is some thank you notes from the children that participated in the summer reading program. This is from Milo. He says, thank you. Hex Bugs is what I bought. So a little illustration of his book. And thank you card. Thank you for the gift cards. I had so much fun picking something out. That's from Eden, age 4. And if you couldn't tell, that's an octopus that he drew there, or she drew, Eden. And thank you. I bought the book Ravenpaw's Path. Heart, book. And one more thank you. Thank you for the gift card. I got a Little Mermaid book, Love Veda, age 3, and a self-picture from Veda. So that's a lighthearted note, but highlight in the report is we gave you some level of detail of some of the measures, and these are not all the measures yet for summer reading program, but year by year, branch by branch, so it's probably more detail, but it does give you a chance for you on the folks on the library board to see the progress at your branches over the years. So the number of readers enrolled, completed activities, those are reading activities, not other activities. Those are reading activities that are part of an activity sheet, and when they complete 5, then they get a free book. And then the number of children that wrote reviews and the total reviews. And what's clear is the engagement on the number of reviews that are being submitted and how that has grown over the years. And my interpretation, this is just one person's interpretation of where that comes from, and that is the Library Foundation and the Friends, their funding goes towards the purchase of the Barnes & Noble gift cards. Plus from ELSA we receive tickets for the State Fair and Minnesota Twins and Sea Life. And so when children write reviews, that gets put into a pool, and then there's a drawing for which they can select those prizes. And it's my analysis that those incentives that we're putting out there are very effective, as we see by the growing number of book reviews that are submitted. One person's interpretation, you can take it or leave it. So a lot of great things with summer reading program. In October we will have other statistics for you to see where we are with performers, attendance at performances, the large group things, and then also the attendance at all the programming that we do, whether it's for crafts, story times, and those different things. And then how does that impact book circulation. So I look forward to the October board meeting to provide that report. And then I also take the show on the road, as it were, to go to the various friends groups. If the Library Foundation would like me to come, I'd be happy to share at that meeting. And then out to community groups as well. And Jody and I do a couple of those. So a lot of chatter. I did report in here that we really got, we had a real issue, and it was the first time issue at Waconia after Monday night storm. It was purely coincidental that I was working the desk that night as a fill-in for a staff who didn't make it that day, but that very intense storm that we had, and we had water literally coming in through the wall. I really highlight and commend the city of Waconia for their swift action and getting an appropriate company that does cleaning for things like that. And so that was, silver lining on that one. And let me see what else can I highlight here. There's a lot of things, but I'll keep it a little bit briefer. Is on the circulation report that I handed out separate. Again, that simply didn't make it into the packet, but that's a report I've been providing each month for a while now. And Dee was holding up for me when he was talking about the dashboard. I think this is the kind of thing. But I think each, Patrick and Kevin also look at some of those numbers. Those are buried deeper in your packet every month. And so when you look at this, that I would need to get my cheaters out for to read, right, is what you see on this is a highlight of some of that data at a higher level. And one of the things that clearly pops out, and that is the increase in circulation at Watertown and Norwood Young America, particularly between last summer and this summer, same time period. And I attribute that to, at least some of that, is the work that our youth services librarian is doing there with having school groups and camp groups coming into the library. And so it's just a lot of intentionality on raising up summer reading. Yep.
On that first page where it says children and then the next page is teen, when you say children, what's the age group? And is the teen overlapping in there, or is it separated from the teens?
Those are separate, or one or the other.
And
and
teens,
part of that
what's
is,
the age group for teens?
I'm sorry, go
Sorry,
ahead.
what's the age group for teens?
13 to 18.
Right. And when I was trying to think of that one, thank you, Kevin, for jumping in on that, because I can't remember if we said it as an age or a grade,
Okay.
but it's basically middle school, high school,
Okay.
and then elementary and pre-K is essentially that. And those are, when the person registers on Beanstack, when the adult who is works with, is registered with the child, they then tell us about the grade and age.
Okay. Any foundation updates, Jane?
Yes. Okay. The last Library Foundation meeting took place on July 11th. The treasurer reported a total revenue for that period was $28,000. The total expenditure was, I round now, $19,500. So net revenue for that period that was reported was $8,300. There was discussion regarding having enough money coming in to cover the requested programs expenses, which will come in October 24. After I shared some highlights and events from our board meetings, I passed around photos, as I mentioned earlier, of past summer programming, including Bill the Juggler, Bazillions, Brandini Magic Show, and STEM Story Time, which they support. They thought such photos and stories about the library and its events would be nice to include in the ask letters to make them more interesting. Ask letters go out 2 times a year, at the end of the year, and then a March-April one for the summer reading program. It also was suggested that Library Foundation members would be welcome to work a shift at the Carver County Fair Library tables, and of course Jody followed up with a sign-up. They discussed providing Library Foundation information available at that table. The next meeting will be after our next meeting. It is October 19th, and that's the last one for this year.
So are they working on any fundraisers or specifically, or just the donations?
Donations, they have a fund me going.
Oh.
And that was before I came. And other than that, some groups and businesses receive an ask in between the times that I mentioned. And they are cautious about asking the same people too much. And if you have any suggestions to all of your friends that are not aware of the foundation, they might be happy to donate something. I think word of mouth is golden.
Yeah.
Those tote bags were really well received as well, weren't they? I feel like they were sold out pretty quickly at the different library locations, right? Yeah. I didn't get one.
I agree. Did you not think they were just glamorous? And that you should maybe make more, and so that we can have them at our friends. Your groups, 2 of your groups have 3 fundraisers, your friends.
Correct.
And another one too. And we are increasing ours at Chaska. Instead of having the large one out of doors, the way we did during River City days, we tried one indoors, cooler, much cooler. And we learned a lot about having one indoors that large. For example, a niece of mine mentioned that it was her first time there. They lived in Laconia. How well organized it was and labeled. And so I said, well, how many books did you buy? And they said, not any, because the line to check out was so long. And so as a result of this last one, which was held at the end of July, we will now do the early bird that I noticed. It's so worth writing all of this out for us because we pick up on things to share. We need that. And I think it will increase membership too. So an early bird, 2 to 3 hours extra time. Plus we need 2 places to check out. We're tight in there. You've probably all seen our library, but we can do it. Everything is doable when you are as determined as our group is.
Thank you, Dan. Well, I think that's the close of our agenda, other than I hope everybody saw the fall programming. Looks like a lot of good opportunities.
A lot of great things happening.
Yeah.
So,
I
And a
missed
pretty
couple.
darn good looking document, if I can
Yeah.
say so on behalf of the staff who did it. I had nothing to do with it, but staff that put that together do an excellent job. A lot of hard work.
definitely.
I was curious, I know I was late, but how many Dalkey requests did you get? Because it wasn't the cutoff on September 4th.
It's actually not until the 4th Friday of September.
Oh, okay.
So-
Because I thought in the minutes was September 4th or thereabouts.
Oh, so I'll have to catch that, but 4th Friday, yeah,
Yeah, maybe I was
of
wrong.
September.
So that'll be on the October agenda?
That will be on the October agenda.
Okay.
Mhm.
And did I see Stacy? It's their person. Okay, go Stacy.
Yep.
Okay, any other items? Otherwise, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Okay. Meeting adjourned.
Yay.
Thank you all.
You make it seem like this isn't a volunteer.